What's up, Drop Pod listeners? You can check out new episodes of the Drop Podcast every Wednesday wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find all of our content on YouTube at the Drop Golf Podcast and on our socials. That's Instagram and Twitter at the Drop_pod. No matter how you consume us, like, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. Follow and listen along.
This episode is brought to you by All County Exteriors. All County Exteriors is a third generation, premier exterior home remodeling company celebrating over 40 years in business. In a remodeling world where the average remodeling company only survives in business for only 5 years, All County Exteriors has stood the test of time, providing their customers with top quality roofing, siding, windows, and doors. They service homeowners and builders with anything from small repairs to large additions. All County Exteriors is not just limited to construction. They have a deep passion for giving back to their community and are charitable supporters of the Make-A-Wish Foundation, the American Cancer Society, Roofs for Troops, and Parents of Autistic Children. If you have planned to do any exterior remodeling, call the experts at All County Exteriors for a free, no obligation estimate for your project. Just call 732-370-2780 or email them at info@allcountyonline.com. That's 732-370-2780 for All County Exteriors for all your remodeling needs. This is the Drop Podcast where we talk golfing in the Garden State. I'm Mike Poro, and this is Ryan Coulott.
What's up, Drop Pod people? Oh boy, we got a big episode for you this week. Let's start off with some housekeeping stuff, Mike. As we usually like to do, we've kind of gotten in this. We are coming up on 3,000 followers on Instagram. Quite a feat, Mike. I'm really glad that we're getting there. I know that we talked about having some kind of giveaway or something. We're kind of in the beginning phases of that, I would say, but keep your eyes open. If you are listening to this and not following, again, on Instagram, it's the Drop_pod. Go check us out. Love a follow. Again, we say it all the time: like, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. I don't know if you guys truly understand how far that goes for us. So again, coming up on 3K there is a pretty big deal. All right, this week's schedule. Yesterday, episode 11 of TPI Tuesday. Dr. Mike and I were saying that I can't believe that it's already been 11 episodes. Again, I think it's 11 of 12 weeks. We just missed one at Christmas time. So pretty big deal there coming up there. So really getting into like a workout, I feel like, Mike. We're out of the stretching and kind of stabilizing and getting more into the like a workout kind of thing. It's been it's really starting to ramp up. So go check that out. That's on YouTube. Again, pretty much a YouTube only vehicle there for TPI Tuesdays, but that was yesterday. You're listening to episode 73. And again, just want to remind people that if you are, you want to watch what's going on or you're on the go and or can't get it on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts, we are also streaming this on YouTube. We got the video version of this up there, so you can check that up on YouTube as well. Tomorrow is going to be another hole, another Ryan verse. I take on the 12th hole at Tidewater. It's a beautiful par 3 over full carry over marsh, and against the bulkhead is a large series of bunkers, which I think you will be interested in their location. And we'll see how I do on the hole. So Ryan verse coming out tomorrow, Thursday. And then we got some more stuff coming out next week, so stay tuned there. Mike, I am, and I know you are, super, super excited. We got, it might not be the white whale, the Captain Ahab, the infamous whoever that might be for us, but we got one of them. We have the Adam Schefter of Golf, as you called him, and I love it. Dan Rapaport from Barstool Sports. He's on the Foreplay podcast with Riggs, Trent, Frankie, and the boys, and he was generous enough to give us a half an hour. It was an incredible spot with him. Really awesome having him on. So that was a huge for us, and super generous of him. He's big time. Like he's national. He doesn't need to give a couple guys like us time, and it was generous that he did. So so Danny Rapp, thanks for coming on. He's our guest. So make sure you stay tuned. Listen to what Danny's got to say at the end of the show here. Let's piggyback onto that, Mike. Coming out next Wednesday is season 2 of Full Swing, which Danny Rapp is in. Season 1 was awesome. We talked about that for last summer and seeing all the things that the PGA Tour got access to and Netflix got access to, I should say. And season 2 is coming out. So I'm super excited. I can't wait to binge watch that. It's going to be a real doozy of a season. And I know we talk about that a little with Danny in our interview. So again, Danny's coming on at the end here. Make sure you stick around. Last kind of bit of housekeeping here, Mike. I want to give a big shout out to Ryan McCormick for making his first cut. The Mexico Open. Great job, Ryan. It was great to see. I saw some pictures that his friends and family had posted about getting to watch him on TV. It was really cool to see. So that's a big get. I didn't see what his where his finishing was yet, but as he's still out on the course, but good for him. Congrats Ryan on making a cut there.
Yeah, I mean, listen, just real quick on that. I think he ended up finishing top 50 was where he finished, but to make the cut, the dude went 3 under in his last 5 holes to make the cut Friday afternoon. I was stalking that leaderboard and kind of seeing like where he's at. I saw Chris had withdrew because he got sick. I saw Max withdrew because of his back. And then I kind of was scrolling up the leaderboard to kind of see where Ryan was. And at the time, he was outside the cut number. And he was at +1. And the cut was -2. And the dude ended up going 3 under his last 5. And, I thought that was super impressive to make the cut because, like anything, you got to get a little confidence going, and it's nice to see him cash his first paycheck this season.
Yeah, no doubt there. Mike, let's get into it. I know that you're super excited. I'm super excited for this. The Fairway Faceoff. You versus me. March Madness style. We did our draft. We went live on Sunday. We said noon. It was a little bit after, so sorry for people that were waiting for us. But we were able to make it work. We got out there. We did our selections. You want to run through them? How do you want to break this down, Mike? You want to let's talk about some of the sleepers and how you feel about your draft, how I feel about mine, and
yeah, so I mean, just to kind of recap, I want to thank everybody that was tuning in to the live feed. I mean, that was really cool, kind of seeing people in there commenting on it. You and I joke around like do people even care at times? And the obvious answer is yes. So when people do, it's even more appreciative from our aspect of that. So 12:30 on a Sunday afternoon, not many people care to listen to what you and I have to say, but people do, and it's cool to be a part of that and in that little like ecosystem, so more or less. But about the draft, listen, it was tough. I mean, I think like if you watch, you saw as it got down to like our last 3 picks, 14, 15, 16, a lot of our boards were clear. We had to kind of go deep in terms of like what are some other spots that may have not made our initial list get on a new list at the current time. And I think we did a pretty damn good job of finding 32 public golf courses that we have not played in the last 12 months or so that have an opportunity to see our rear ends, because like we've mentioned many times, whoever wins, we will go and pack our bags north, south, east, or west, wherever it ends up being, on top of probably seeing others on this list. But the guarantee is that the winner will see us live and in person. So I'm excited. I think the matchups are going to be super fun. To kind of echo some of the things that we spoke about on Sunday, like voting goes live tomorrow at 11 a.m. It'll be all over on Instagram. Like you said at the top, make sure you follow along because you want to get your votes in. And 11 o'clock, it'll run for 24 straight hours starting Thursday. And then the following week's episode, you'll hear about the results. And it's exciting. I know last year the engagement was insane. The amount of comments, shares, votes, nonetheless, everything was just off the rocker. And I'm excited about this one because we're bringing a lot of different golf courses into play here. Some that we haven't talked about, some that we have, some that we just never got to, and some courses that are looking for, round two. They maybe thought they got slighted last year and they thought their team should have won or their course should have won and they didn't. Well, now they got a second go around. So I'm excited. I think it was a good draft, and I'm kind of curious to see how this whole thing ends up.
Yeah, I really am too. And I know as if you were on the live stream there, I had a couple more ready for you that I just wanted to share. I know we said I didn't want to give anything away, but the four others that I had left: Royce Brook, Rock Lee, Town and Country, and Bowling Green. Four others that I had there ready in the chamber. But I thought it was honestly a lot of fun to kind of go through, be strategic, think about like a mixture of like wanting to play the course on top of like the engagement we get on the course. So I know that there's some interesting matchups here that you and I have already talked about. Honestly, I think my first round matchup there with 𝗘𝗀𝗀𝗀 and you got Rutgers, I think that was a pretty good pull. If you were being serious about not being out of courses, just kind of pulling one out from your rear, I thought that was a really good one. That's a good 𝗘𝗀𝗀𝗀 is a much from someone who's played both. 𝗘𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 is much nicer, but you never know how much Rutgers can pop out for their course. And again, I don't feel great about that one at this point. So,
well, I think there's sometimes you when you said you're bringing up some strategery involved in the game here, and you held Scotland Run to the end. I said, okay, well, I better have a joker up my sleeve because if I don't, it could be a bloodbath. It truly could, and I'm hopeful that RU Nation and we can get everybody over there at Rutgers hopping on board this. Maybe we can get all the athletics, the golf, you name it. I know we have a lot of Rutgers followers on there. If we can get Coach Schiano to maybe share it. I mean, listen, you never know. You never know you never know what DMs I can send here and there to kind of spruce things up a little bit. So I had to stick with the Rutgers thing. I said, okay, let's toss them a bone and see if they come through. I know they battle in the Big Ten, but hey, throw out a sleeper there.
And that's my disadvantage that you got over. You can, send a couple extra DMs here and there. But yeah, that was a great pull with Mr. Irrelevant there pulling up Rutgers. As Mike said, I picked Scotland Run. Mike was not able to pick Scotland Run since he played it last year. So I let it drop all the way down. I picked it with my 14th pick. So it's going to be going up against Crystal Springs in the first round. So we know how highly Mike talks about Scotland Run. So we got a one that's really a great course. Probably should be a top 3, either on your side or my side, if we were just going off the course itself. But again, I knew you couldn't pick it, so I wanted to see if I could pick off one of yours early. Again, kind of going with the strategery there. I like my Seaview Pines. Seaview showed out last year, Mike. We saw how good they were. Those people, they really came out to play, and it's going up against one that you really have been itching to play. I kind of played it last year. I got to play all 27, a little different style, which I've been saying, but it's going up against the 710 in Neshannock Valley, and that's again a big.
That was the finals last year. That was
Yeah.
the finals. It was Neshannock versus Seaview Bay, and that was the finals. And to your point, now we have what really could probably be two of our biggest followings in terms of course supporters in an opening round matchup, which, listen, if you had asked me, like, what matchups do I see as, like, wow, like, golf courses, that was up there.
That's a heavyweight one.
You brought up Scotland Run and Crystal Springs, two different ends of the state. You got the north and you got the southwest. Well, I should say northwest versus southwest. You got a little bit of mixtures there. But if I had to ask you on your side and my side, who's your sleeper that you're looking at this, and when we reconvene the finals and the championship game, who do you see as, like, you know what? I know I got them here, but, or do you just think you think the favorite in terms of 𝗘𝗍𝗀 and, Francis A. Byrne, your Skyways, or you think they're just going to carry you through?
So honestly, I feel really good about my draft, especially with getting Scotland Run so late down there. I feel really, really pretty good about my draft. I really do. I think obviously that, like, again, I worry about Rutgers with how big Rutgers could get, taking out 𝗘𝗍𝗀. Charleston and Francis Byrne, I'm not terribly worried about. I think Skyway should roll Riverdale. I think Wild Turkey should run wild over Running Deer. Puns, all of those puns intended there. I thought I really like my courses here. I thought they came out pretty solidly. I like them. Again, the one thing I will say is I don't know the social side as well as you do, or really at all. So, hey, maybe a course like Tamarack East is blowing it up on social media, and I just don't really know that. And they're gonna take out Hominy Hill, because maybe Hominy Hill is non-existent on socials. So that's something that I don't know as well, and that is something that definitely comes into play here. Again, I do know that Seaview and Neshannock both show out, so I think that is a Tyson Ali in their prime matchup right there.
George Wall Ford in Red Bank, New Jersey is family owned and operated, proudly serving New Jersey residents with superior customer service since 1960. Rye, share your story about your experience there.
Mike, I went on a tangent in one of our episodes previously about it, but I can't say enough good things about George Wall Ford. I needed a new car. I had an old. I loved the brand that I had. I loved, it was an SUV, but had 165,000 miles on it. It was just time, So I hopped on over to George Wall Ford. I saw our guy Jerry, and Jerry and his team were awesome. I mean, from stem to stern, they're there. They're helping. They're knowledgeable. They have so many cars on the lot that you can go in and say, hey, I want a sunroof, a navigation. I want this kind of rims on it. I want this kind of this, that, and the other thing. There's a great chance that they have that car with all your specs, the color, all that thing. Me, I didn't particularly care. I just I was like, hey, I want to be high up in the car, right? I need an SUV. I'm a big guy. I got a dog. I got golf clubs. I got beach chairs in the summer. I need something that's a little more rugged, a little more. Again, I like to be higher in my car. And I went and saw Jerry. He pointed me in the right direction. And again, it's awesome to have that kind of help and support from your salesman to the finance guy to even they got somebody who helps you set up your car, right? I got an app on my phone now that's got my auto start on it. I can locate my car if I don't know where it is. I could take a trip to Japan if I wanted to and be like, did I lock my car? And I can go into the app and lock my car. So even people helping you set up that stuff, just the hands-on approach over there is incredible. So if you need a car, head on over to George Wall. And go ask for Jerry. They were awesome there. Again, stem to stern from everybody. I can't say enough good things about it. It was an unbelievable experience.
So to Ryan's point, there isn't a better place to shop for a brand new car. Just call 732-704-1932 and ask for Jeremy Wall. George Wall Ford in Red Bank for all your car buying needs. Yeah, I mean, listen, I totally agree. I think this is a huge shout out to all the golf courses, all 32 that are involved too, because this is just another way when you share all these stories that get posted to, hey, listen, let's get our name out there more. Let's get people talking about it. Um, and when you can start seeing all the votes that start to compile, it's like, all right, well, there is a lot of interest about our place, and all we're trying to do is to continue to highlight that. So I will throw this sentiment out there that, hey, listen, all these golf courses, we'd appreciate you sharing these stories so more eyes and more clicks go on it, because again, it helps both parties here. So I know when I look at the top 32 teams in the sense or courses that we drafted, I kind of think the sleeper on my side is Architects. I do. I think Architects, after seeing it pop up in Golf Digest a few weeks ago, talking about some of the holes on the golf
Mhm.
courses, I think that the idea that it is kind of like a one hole is a different spot kind of draws the average golfer's interest a little more. Um, and I kind of have a gut feeling that, like, I won't be surprised if Architects kind of slides down these rankings further and further along in this process. Um, but to your point, like, I don't know. I mean, the following helps. It matters. I would say Architects is kind of a sleeper on my side, and then I do think the
I do have a
sleeper.
sleeper on mine. So like I wouldn't consider Architects a sleeper because it's in the top 5, right? It's in the even top 4, it's in the top 25% of your thing. Honestly, I think Seaview Pines for me would be that sleeper if you wanted like a true sleeper. Back half. No, it's got a big following. It's not as nice as the Bay course, but like for me, that's one that like is a little bit of a wild card. I would say in there for me. That or honestly, the other one would be Galloping Hill. That's another one for me that would be kind of wild card there for me.
Yeah, I won't be. I mean, again, I guess I can see your point in terms of Architects being in my top four. Number four, moving on. But I guess, I mean, when you think about March Madness, do you have a lot of fours winning the whole thing? I guess maybe a handful, but I would say, like, Running Deer, it is a huge, huge get out there. I think, honestly, Running Deer smokes the what out of Wild Turkey opening round. Smokes him. Smokes him.
There's another big one though. That's a Crystal Springs resort. There's a lot of people that follow Crystal Springs. There's a lot of like that's got a pretty big following, but so does
Smoke
Ron
show.
Jaworski. So that's going to be
Smoke
interesting.
show.
Yeah,
Smoke show.
we'll see. We'll see.
So I mean, I kind of like that. And if, as you kind of project this bad boy out and you look all the way up and down.
Well, hold on. Before you get there, let me ask you this question because
Okay.
it sounds like you're ending that part of it. So let me ask you this: out of all the courses that I picked that were on your list, and I'm going to do the same. What was one that you were like, oh, I really wish I had that course?
I guess there. I mean, I guess there were two. Francis A. Byrne was very high on my list, and I was surprised to see you take that at number two. I had a gut feeling it would be on there because it's highly talked about. I just didn't think it would be that high on your list. I didn't. And then obviously Skyway is also one because I know and I had a gut feeling that'd be high on your list because that is somewhere we tried getting to so many freaking times last year. We just couldn't make it work. Those are two. But obviously, when I look at where they are for you, they're very high as well. So obviously, my thought process about it may be a tad lower on your list, just clearly was not right.
Yeah. Yeah, I went with Francis because I know that it was going to be high on your list. And when you didn't take it at number 1, I knew that I had to take it or you were going to take it. I had a feeling that it was just like a way for me to keep it, to keep it mine. And then again, same thing with Skyway. I felt like Skyway kind of fell into my lap there because of how much we've talked about it and the traction it gets.
Yeah, my number one wasn't switching. The Old Bridge Golf Club, the Rose, is number one on my list. I've actually had a few conversations with people over there about us going and playing. We're gonna wait until the golf course is ready to go in terms of the spring season, healing things up from the winter. But I've had a lot of conversations with people over there. They want us to come over. I'm itching to go because when you're
Can't
talking about,
wait.
like,
Yeah.
you're talking about brand new built golf courses, like, this is the first one, and I can't tell you how many years. So for me, it was like, okay, I've heard about Balio and I've heard about all these other spots, But in terms of like the want and the desire to go make it happen, I know nothing about this place. It's brand freaking new. So to me, like my number one was like locked in. I just was crossing my fingers that it wasn't number one on your list.
So honestly, it was probably number 4 on my list, and maybe even up higher. But like when you didn't pick Francis or Skyway, it's like I had to pick those. I'm super interested in picking the Rose again. What brought it down a little bit for me was the following. I don't know if it has the traction because it's so new. That's the only thing, or the only reason why. But honestly, I'd say
there's some sneaky juice.
And again, that you got that over me. I think you took again. I didn't feel like I should take 𝗘𝗽𝗀𝗃, so that was kind of off of my list there. But the two for me were Architects and LBI National. That was one that I was like, LBI. I really want to get to. I know it's close. I'm thinking that we play LBI National, and then you invite me over. We have a nice home cooked meal together. It would be quite lovely. But I don't think one of those.
I don't think that will happen. But I mean, listen, let a man dream, right? That's what they say. Let a man dream.
But LBI National with their redo, and I know that when you went over and played it, it wasn't in the best condition because of its new undertaking and whatever. But that's one that I'd like to get to as well. And again, I played Architects with a couple buddies, had a great time, maybe 8, 10, 12 years ago, something like that, and would love to get there again. It's really a cool place. And being now, even from then, being now a little bit more of like into golf course architecture, that for me is one that like I would like to be able to see and understand truly.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I like it. I mean, I don't know if I'm super excited to get this bad boy off the ground. The draft was fun. But I guess, I mean, you got to talk about, let's pick a Final Four. Let's pick a Final Four. And no offense, the way it could go, it could be 4 of your squads.
Right.
Right? It could be 4 of my squads. It could be 3-1. It could be 2-2. Like, it could be a lot of different ways depending on how the matchups go. Do you have a thought of maybe, I don't even know if you want to say Final Four. Do you have a final matchup? Do you have a winner? Like, project and predict what your thoughts are by just looking at things.
It's tough when it's not in like the bracket form, right? Like I didn't get to like draw them over. I feel really good about my. Honestly, I feel really good about my top 3. Scotland Run being so low, I think might be able to pick off one of your top ones in that second round matchup. So I'd have to write it out, and that's not like a podcast thing, but maybe we do that, Mike. Maybe we put you and me, we put it together, and then we kind of set it out in pieces. Maybe that's something we do. But I do like, I think my top 3 have a good chance of making a little bit of a run. As I said, I think you having 𝗘𝗀𝗃 is kind of a big one that I'd be scared at 7, just to kind of do some damage. I don't know if I'm not saying it would be the winner or anything like that, but it gets past Seaview, which for me has a lot of eyes on it. And then what does it go to? 7-10 goes to the 3-6 matchup.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's playing Skyway or Great Gorge. Skyway, I think, is going to beat Rivervale. Great Gorge is playing Renault, right? So I think both of mine should move on. So the 3-6, I don't know. Skyway or Georgia, I don't really. I don't know. That one does make me a little nervous though.
So who's your winner?
Again, I hate this. I hate this because we're depending it on how many eyes get to it, right. which truly doesn't tell you which is the best course out there in New Jersey.
No, but it wasn't going to anyway.
So
Because we've all, if that's the case, we would have thrown in courses that you and I know that we both had to leave off because we just played it, right? I mean, we got to think about it. Like Ballamore would have been in the top 32, but it's not because we just played there. So there are courses, if we're going to say the best, that were left off.
But best of the like I could say best of the rest, and it's still not going to matter even if we did it that way because Ballamore might not get the eyes that somebody else gets. I really feel really pretty good about Skyway. That would be my my number
that's
3.
Your projected winner.
Yeah, I really like Skyway in its 3 seed, getting a little run.
I mean, listen, they have a great following. I can't lie. Skyway, to their credit, are active on Instagram. They're constantly sharing things. They're not afraid to comment on things or even to frankly DM us back. And I do value that because sometimes there are management companies that oversee certain handles of certain companies. So it makes it a little more difficult for me to connect with people that way. But to your point, Skyway does a really, really good job of kind of overseeing their operations, and not having that issue. So it's definitely a interesting one. So,
and which do you feel then? What's your?
I think the winner of the whole thing is going to be Berkshire Valley, my number 6 seed.
Okay.
It's an outside the box one. I know it's not like one, even if you look to what happened last year, it wasn't like one that went nuts and went crazy, but I just have a gut feeling. I don't know. I just have that feeling inside my bones. Maybe if you asked me for another one, I may have said Running Deer, but I'm sticking with Berkshire Valley. And we're going to bring this clip up in about 4 weeks when they win the whole thing. And Magic Mike is going to be performing.
Deep down the roster there. So that just means that, hey, my Galloping Hill people, right? The State Golf Association headquarters. You got to show out. You gotta knock Berkshire Valley out first round. That's just what has to happen.
Yeah, that'd be a sad day for me. Sad day.
Mike, you got anything else from the wrap up? I know we're going to post it. Starts tomorrow.
Yeah, be ready to start clicking. 11 a.m. It'll run for 24 straight hours. And then next Wednesday, you'll have to tune in to see where we're at and what the seeds are and who advanced and who didn't. So it's exciting times here. It's exciting times. It's going to start leading us right into actually teeing it high and letting it fly, because before you know it, it'll be our turn to play.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. I'm getting the itch. Dr. Mike and I are talking about it every time we start doing drills. As I said, getting a little more exercise and or workouts, and this is like the golf swing, right? And it's true. So we got some big things coming on there. So yeah, really looking forward to getting this done. You put out the schedule kind of and the brackets. We'll post them again, like what the matchups are going to be and all that. So stay tuned for it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Again, I think you're in for a real treat, guys. All right. Anything else, Mike?
Nope, you covered it, sir.
All righty. We're going to send you now to our conversation we had with Dan Rapaport from Barstool Sports, the Foreplay podcast. Dan is the Adam Schefter of golf, the golf media world. He's bounced around. Young guy that's got, you'd say he's got a bright future because of how young he is, but his future has already exploded. Excuse me. And we had again, a lot of luck getting him on, and it was a tremendous opportunity. So thank you to Dan for coming on. And here's our interview with Dan Rapaport. Enjoy.
Comstock Yacht Sales has been the Jersey Shore's #1 boat dealer since 1973. Did you know that Comstock now has 2 on-water sales locations to better serve the boaters across New Jersey? Their full-service marina is located at 704 Princeton Avenue in Bricktown, and their all-new sales location can be found at Navesink Marina in Seabright. Comstock currently carries some of the best boat brand manufacturers today. The team at Comstock is proud to be New Jersey dealers for Regulator Center Consoles, Grady White Boats, Tiara Yachts, Sea Pro, Four Winds, and MGM Yachts. If you're looking for a new or pre-owned boat or looking for help selling your current boat, Comstock Yacht Sales is the place to go. Go online to see their full new boat lineup or stop into one of their 2 locations today. They can be found at ComstockMarina.com. That's ComstockMarina.com, or for immediate sales assistance, text them now at 732-604-1237. That's 732-604-1237. Boy, oh boy, do we have ourselves a treat here today. We have one of the hosts of Barstool's Foreplay podcast, what I like to refer to as the Adam Schefter of professional golf.
I'll take that.
Today's guest is Dan Rapaport. Dan, thanks so much for coming on today's show, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I saw you guys. I respect the hustle. I saw you guys tag me on Instagram a couple times, so I figured I'd come and jump on.
Listen,
Just a couple.
Listen, I am a
persistence is key, dude. Persistence is key.
And I swear to God, that's one of my jobs. Like Ryan and I have 2 different jobs when it comes to the podcast. Mine is all like the out in front, the social media side of it. And sometimes, to your point, listen, you got to take extreme measures. And maybe I get lucky and hit it, and knock on wood, I got you. And listen,
I'm here.
I can't lie. The audience, when I told a couple people on the side that, hey, you're not going to believe who I got, they were like, get the hell out of here. No fucking way. I'm like, I swear to God, wait till it happens. So listen, you're a big draw for us. And I can't thank you enough for giving us a few minutes today.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to do it. I really respect people who are hustling. So I'm very happy to be here. And, I kind of miss New York just a little bit. So I feel like this is, it's nice to jump back into the kind of Met section golf world. I missed a lot of I missed qualifying for a lot of tournaments in New Jersey, so I know it well.
Well, we're happy to have you, Dan.
So listen, before we get diving into everything, because we have a few stories that we want to share, but why don't you give the audience a little bit of a background about you, like the rise of Dan Rapaport, because to us, you're still a young buck who's really climbed the ladder. And I know you laughed at the Adam Schefter thing at the top, but to me, I truly believe that. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been a really good ride. I was a competitive, player growing up, golfer. My dad was a huge golfer. I love the sport, always have from a young age. Went to journalism school. I wanted to be a sports writer. That was kind of the gold standard. I wanted to be kind of the next golf guy at Sports Illustrated. They had Rick Riley, and before that, Dan Jenkins and Alan Shipnuck. And these are guys I kind of grew up idolizing. So very much focused on sports journalism when I was at school. Took a job at Sports Illustrated right out of college. I was just kind of doing nights and weekends, basically just embedding tweets in articles. And then, there wasn't much art to it. It was very much just kind of, you're young, you're working at Saturday at 11:45 p.m. So get something on the blog. And then I've had a few real breaks go my way. The first one was when I was at Sports Illustrated. They used to own Golf Magazine and golf.com. That was a Sports Illustrated publication for a really long time. And then I started hearing murmurs that it was for sale, that they were going to sell Golf Magazine. And at the time, all of the golf content for Sports Illustrated was done through golf.com. So there was no, I would blog stuff about football, I'd blog stuff about basketball, but it was never golf, which is hard because that's what I love the most. So when I heard that it was being sold, I just kind of took a chance and went into my boss's office and said, hey, I don't know what's going to happen here, but it's my background. I've played all my whole life, this, that, or the other. I know the game. Give me a crack at it. And then like a couple weeks later, he brought me in and said, they're getting sold, and why don't you, take a crack at writing some golf stuff? So I started doing that, started going to some tournaments, and just kept writing. It was all writing at the time. There was no trying to get a podcast off the ground at that company was like, you like had to go through fucking both houses of Congress. It was like so trying to do anything was just so difficult. So it's just writing articles and articles and articles. But I always felt like I kind of had a little bit more like juice than just writing. I always wanted to, do video. I always wanted to do podcast stuff. I just felt like it wasn't the best use of I guess the best way of putting it is I had hung out with other writers, like proper writers, and I just didn't feel like I had that personality. I just felt like I was a little bit more forward facing. So then I got a call in 2019 from Max Adler, who was the editor, still is, I believe, the editor-in-chief of Golf Digest, and they had just signed Tiger to this big content deal. Discovery, which owns Golf Digest, had signed Tiger to this big deal. He was going to do this thing was called Golf TV. He was going to do all this video content. This was like right after he won the Masters, so like Tiger Mania was kind of back. And they were looking for a young person to basically kind of liaise between Tiger's team and the magazine, go to all the shoots that he's at, ghostwrite all the articles that he quote unquote writes, go to all the tournaments that he plays in. So I was 24 and he called me and said, you want to follow Tiger Woods around the world? I said, yeah. He said, okay, great. You're going to Japan next week. So I went to Japan the first week. He won the Zozo Championship and we were flying from there. So I was at Digest for about 2.5 years. And I got incredible opportunities really during COVID to go to so many events because I was young. Before it was like, there was a lot of people who worked at Golf Digest who wanted to go to events. That's like the fun part of the job. So it was always like, I couldn't just pick and choose where I wanted to go. But once COVID happened, a lot of these guys had families. I was like the sacrificial lamb. I was like, I'll fucking get on the plane. I'll go anywhere. So I think in 2020 and like 2020, 2021, I probably went to across those 2 years, like 40 tour events and was there all week. And I was just like on the road and making relationships and, but I was still a little bit frustrated that I felt like I wasn't getting, I felt like there was more stuff that I could do if I just had the resources and sort of the belief to do it, that I could make some cool shit. But large boats turn slowly is the phrase I like to use. Like Digest has been around for a really long time. They had a really set way of doing things and they weren't just going to give me everything that I wanted, which I completely understand. But then Barstool basically said, we will give you everything that you want and we'll give you this platform, which we've already built. And those guys had already built something really incredible when I got there. And we have all this production talent behind the scenes because I'm fucking useless. I can't even edit a podcast. I can't edit a video. And they said, great, we don't need to do any of that. I said, I want to move to Los Angeles back home. They said, great, no problem. I said, I don't want to go to tour events all week if I don't have to. They said, you can make your own travel schedule basically. And they increased my pay significantly. And it was like an absolute no brainer. So
that seems like the dream right there for you.
It was amazing, but it was scary because, like I said, I wanted to work in traditional sports media for my whole life. I never, Barstool Sports was never really a thing when I was in school. And then it was an Instagram account, but it never really felt like it was something that I could do. But then, and what was so great about it, I think, is that I was concerned that they were going to want me to like go full Barstool and take a nickname and go to the office and be on the yak and all this stuff. And they were like, no. Like, we are hiring you because we like what you do. And we feel like you can bring stuff to our brand that we don't already have. We don't want to hire you and have you try to become something that you're not. And so I feel like it's been the best of both worlds where I've been able to create a lot of the stuff that like this caddy series that I do where I caddy for a pro and interview them. I pitched that to Sports Illustrated probably 4 times. I pitched that to Golf Digest probably 5 or 6 times, was told no every single time. And then we made the first one and people like fucking love it. And I'm like, why didn't you, I tried to do this with you guys. And then I'll still get messages from some of my old coworkers being like, this is so awesome. I'm like, great. I tried to give it to you 25 times.
Can we call that old man media? Are we allowed to? Or does Frankie have the trademark on that?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I have a lot of genuinely really good pals. Chris Powers is one of my good friends. Steve Hennessy, both New York guys who
we had Steve on a couple weeks ago.
Steve is the man. They were both at my wedding. Like, those are both really good guys. We still have a group chat called Guardians of Golf Media where we just send each other other people's tweets that we think are stupid. So I still have really good friends there, but those weren't the guys who I ran up against like decision making. Those guys were always super supportive, and they were always on my side. It was more kind of the higher ups who I felt like, just because they were 50 years old and they'd been an editor in a magazine for 25 years, felt like they knew what good content was and knew, what was worth it and what wasn't. And I just was really, really frustrated by that.
And at some point that's going to change, right? At some point, those guys are going to leave the industry or leave the business, and guys that are that are younger, that are growing up in this more podcast, more video driven, they're going to take those and be more open to those roles. But it's already happened. I mean,
yeah. I already look at Digest and some of the stuff that they're doing with 𝗘𝗽𝗀cie and some of the stuff that they're doing, like putting their people. I remember one time I was doing really well. I don't remember what it was. I had written a big article or whatever it was, or Twitter was going well, and I got a call from my boss at the time, and he was being really, really strange on the phone. And I was like, what are you saying? Like, what is the purpose of this phone call? And he was basically like, I just don't want you to get too big of a head, and just don't, cause I don't want other people at Digest to think that like, you're getting special treatment. And that's when I knew I had to leave, because if your reaction to someone having success is to not want to offend other people who aren't having as much success, that's fine. But in my position, it's not going to be a place that I want to work.
I mean, and now, because I think what you do now for what we all enjoy watching, the speed golf to me nowadays, you think, dude, I love that. I must rewatch those on TikTok repeatedly because I think it's really cool when you put these professional guys who at the end of the day are really just normal dudes who love sports, who love golf, and you can kind of put them on, like, give you a quick answer, go. Dude, that's so creative. It's so good.
It's just different from all the stuff that they get normally. Like you can ask a guy to tell you about his up and down on 13, but it's the same answer that he's given thousands and thousands and thousands of times.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to do it again.
Yeah, it's just like he's just going through the motions. It's not fun. It's not, So I just wanted to kind of highlight their personalities. And I also think, I was lucky that I overlapped at Northwestern with Matt Fitzpatrick, and we became close friends. And I think that really, like, being like genuinely really close friends with a tour pro, I think you just sort of understand how they operate. You understand what they want to do, what they don't want to do. And then the other guys know that you're friends with that guy. And then that was kind of how I first started like developing contacts in the world, was like, they knew that, okay, if this guy's friends with Fitz, he's obviously not like a creep.
It's not some jabroni, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. To use a Jersey word. Yeah.
Yeah, that's always, it kind of like gives you some cred to it that he's already in this crew, he's already part of this guy, so he's not just some local schlub trying to get something. He's friends with one of us. Yeah, he's friends with one of us, and he's not trying to gotcha situation, and I think also being able to play at a pretty solid level helps a lot. So I just feel really fortunate that everything's kind of aligned. And I'm excited to keep making more cool shit, because there's a lot of cool stuff that I haven't done yet. But yeah, it's been a fun ride. And then Netflix happening last year was crazy. We got that show coming out in 2 weeks, season 2. So yeah, things are good. That's huge. Yeah, that's quite. As Mike and I were talking before, it's just like a meteoric rise, and kind of in the same way that what's his name, Brian Windhorst, when he just started, he was like, "Hey, follow this LeBron guy," and it just like skyrocketed for him from there. And I feel like it's the same for you. It's like, hey, follow Tiger, and then now you just again roll these opportunities. It's been great to see. I'm very grateful for my time with like hanging around Tiger. I wish it wasn't so short. I mean, there was a little window there in 2019 when I started where he was playing fucking unbelievable. Like when my first week on the job, I went to Japan. He won. Then the President's Cup in Australia, he was incredible. So I got this little 3-month stretch of seeing him, maybe not at peak 2000 or 2007 levels, but he was pretty damn good, and it was unbelievable. I will treasure that time forever. Like he's already 48. So it's, who knows how much longer it's going to happen. But, when I'm 48 and Tiger's, with gray hair, I'll be able to tell my kids, like I saw this guy when he was at the peak of his powers, and it was something to behold. Yeah.
So it's funny you bring up Matt Fitzpatrick, because I gotta share this story. I grew up playing Manasquan River.
Okay.
and
that's where his wife is from, or his fiance, right?
Yeah. So Catherine's from there, and obviously when he wins at the U.S. Open, and that's a huge part of season 1 in Netflix, and you're there, you're watching. So the following week,
yeah, he came over there with the U.S. Open trophy, right?
Yeah. So he comes. So the next week at the golf club is the member guest. It is the biggest damn week the club has. Just like any other private club, like member guest weekend, we all know, like, all right, you got to be on your A game. You got all these guys coming.
Right.
So it's Thursday, the practice round. Matt Fitzpatrick shows up. Nobody knows he's showing up, except I think maybe Catherine, maybe the head pro knew he was coming over. But he shows up. They go to the caddy master goes to get the bag out of the trunk, and in the front seat is the United States Open trophy. And people are now going crazy. Matt Fitzpatrick's here. Trophy's in the front seat. It's in the front. Matt Fitzpatrick shows up. He's got the damn trophy in the front seat, goes out and plays golf. Like, it's amazing. Ryan and I say this all the time, how things just get like interconnected one way or another to like Matt Fitzpatrick, Manasquan River, having a guy like you on. His wife is, grew up, mom always playing at the club. Like, talk about your relationship with Matt Fitzpatrick and how all that came about.
That was so funny because I remember they had just started dating at that time. And
it was like kind of getting serious.
It was like kind of getting serious. And I remember, even before he won, I was asking him, oh, what are you doing next week? Because I was living in New York at the time. And, so we were like, he was coming to the city and we were going to get, we played some golf. And I was like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm going to visit this girl. And so after he wins, I'm like, so are you still going? And he's like, yeah. So he goes there and then he comes up to the city and I'm like, so how was it? He's like, yeah, it was good. And I'm like, is she like a golfer? Does like her family play golf? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, so they were like watching. He was like, yeah. I was like, so you just turned up to meet the parents for the first time after winning the U.S. Open on TV. He was like, yeah. I was like, so were you just like, I was like, so were you just like, swinging around the biggest dick in the history of the world? And he was like, honestly, yeah, kind of. So
I was like, buckled into the front seat.
Yeah, I was like, if this girl isn't in love with you, then you are doing something wrong because there is no stronger entrance you could possibly make than going to her hometown directly, like the day after winning the U.S. Open trophy and bringing it with you. So yeah, and that's great. We were super close in college. We were super close. The first couple of years after he was playing the Challenge Tour and European Tour, and then when he started playing the PGA Tour, we'd hang out all the time on the road. We're still dear friends. We had dinner last week in LA. It's a little bit different now. I'm married. He's getting married. He lives in Florida. I live in California. We used to talk all the time. It's more of a mature friendship relationship now where, I see him a couple times a year. We have dinner a couple times a year. But just living in different cities, it's hard to maintain relationships like that. But yeah, he's a good one. He's a really good kid. And I'm really happy for him. I think that this relationship has softened him in a way and given him something to care about outside of golf. Because he's such an insanely dedicated professional when it comes to his sport, that it's nice for him to have something else. I think there was some, no, I mean, it's like, I remember when I remember the Ryder Cup at Whistling Straits 2021, I think it was. And, he I think he was single at the time. And, he had a really, really shitty Ryder Cup.
He struggled.
He struggled big time. And he, on the last hole, he fatted one into the water to lose to Daniel Berger. And he didn't look at his phone for like 3 days afterwards. He was like in a really deep, like fucking, like a dark place, because I think, when you care so much like he does, and it's one of the reasons why he's so successful, but it's sort of a double-edged sword, because then when you're not, like, I remember when he used to play bad, it would be dark, and because that's what his life was. So I think now he's got a little bit more balance where, if he plays shitty, he still has someone to make him happy, when the round is over, which has been really nice to see. And it's cool that he's got these New Jersey ties now for you boys.
Yeah. A little more perspective for him there.
He's been over there a few times too. He's
there a lot.
Yeah, he peeks his head out every so often, and it's kind of like quiet thing, but he's there.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't he does that. I was a member at Quaker Ridge in New York, and I got him in kind of hooked him up with an honorary membership there too. And he does that too, but he doesn't go and do a clinic or something. He'll just go with Catherine and play 9 holes and not want to see anybody. And he's nice if people come up to him, but he's if he never had to do an interview ever again, I think he would be very happy.
But that's got to be the case for a whole bunch of them, right? They got to be hey, this is my time to get away. I'm gonna play 9 with my fiance, my girlfriend, just or even just my friends. I just want to be cordial, but just this is some quiet time for me. I got the interview side, I got the big golf side,
but there are certain places where that's super normal, like in Florida, these clubs where they're used to seeing pros all the time, or Arizona, right, where they're this is just part of life. But it's not really a thing in Westchester or New Jersey. Right. It's just because pros don't really live there. Pros don't really hang out there. So it's if you go to Whisper Rock, and you see Max Homa, no one's going to blink twice. But if you go to Manasquan River and you see the U.S. Open champion, you're going to be what's going on here?
Yeah. Big time.
Yeah.
Big time. Yeah. But
hey, real quick, Mike, Danny, I got to jump off. I wanted to thank you for coming on. This has really been great. Yeah. Appreciate it. And hopefully we'll get to see you in person, have you on another time, something like that.
Yeah, that'd be great. Happy to do it.
Right. Take care, guys.
I do also, obviously your Quaker Ridge connection was another draw for me, because I think I knew, well, I don't say I think I knew, Brian Gaffney at one point was the head golf professional there.
Before I got there.
Before you got there. Okay. So when we sat down with Brian and we talked to him, he told us he had the course record and things there at the time, whatnot. So I was like, you know what, let's reach out to Chris Gabriel, because I know Chris through Instagram and chatting, and I can't lie. Another guy that had so many positive things to say about you. I kind of said from the behind the scenes, you got to know Danny Rapp on a whole different level. What's he like? Trying to, do my research before sitting down with guys. I kind of like to know what I'm getting into. But he had brought up a time that he had a trip planned to go to the Masters, and you guys were having an event. And he was, you were able to hook him up with some tickets. And listen, I just thought another guy that said so many nice things about you that, unprovoked more or less. So I think again, it's a nice thing.
Yeah. Chris is a good guy. He's a good player. I think, so I played with Hagestad actually, and at Quaker, I think he broke the record, but it was unofficial because he hit 2 off the first tee, but he didn't birdie the first hole. So it was sort of felt kind of bad because he was we had just got out of the car and he hit it. I don't know if you've played there, but the first hole is a par 5 and there's a bunker down the right side. And if you hit it in the bunker, you're not going to get there in 2. But there's no range. It's in a lot of these courses in the Met area, they just never really had a range. So you're right out of the car. We had driven from my house or my apartment in Brooklyn, which was an hour drive. We're right out of the car, and he hits he kind of fans one in the right bunker. And I'm like, why don't you hit another one? Go for it. He hits it down the middle. Doesn't make birdie. We don't think anything of it. And then he shoots 63 at the end of the day, and we're like, fuck. I can't believe that you hit 2 off the first tee. So I don't know what Chris's low is out there, but I don't think he shot 63 out there yet.
He didn't, because he said to me, he's like, I want that course record. And it's funny you bring up the Stu Hagestad story, because I think we had him on maybe a few weeks after. We had him on a few weeks before he did that with you. So when I was listening to the story, I was blown away. I literally texted to him dude, you just almost shot the course record. He's like, oh, dude, I messed one up on the first tee. And I'm like, it's so funny because I just had listened to your podcast. I heard exactly what you said. So it's kind of crazy in that respect.
Yeah. Stu's a good guy. I was actually on the phone with him yesterday. Yeah. He's playing the Masters again this year. Pretty incredible what he's been able to do. I think people are super jealous of him, and I think it colors a lot of the sort of media coverage of him. But I've never had anything but he's been very, very kind and generous with me, and we've played golf together a number of times. So, and I respect the crap out of what he's done in the game, because it's something that a lot of people talk about doing. But I've seen it when he was in New York, he would go in the morning and work out, and then he'd go to his job, and then he would go hit balls for 2 hours, and he has a putting mat in his apartment. I don't think he's living in New York anymore, but he had a putting mat in his apartment, and he would just drill on the putting mat in the apartment. And I think everyone has this kind of idea of oh, I could be this guy who does both. And he actually did it, which a lot of respect for that.
Dude. And it's crazy you say so many nice things about him, because me being this little guy for a little podcast in New Jersey, kind of just inching around and DMing people, getting connected with him, and him sharing his number with me, and us just randomly at random times we'll just text about things. And it's Stu Hagestad, I look at it as this big maybe go down as one of the best amateurs ever, is
He
texting
already
some little,
is, yeah.
right, texting some little guy like me as if we're buddies. It's like, it's crazy. But, talking about a career, like I look at what you got coming on at the Myrtle Beach qualifier. Like,
Yeah.
dude, that's gotta tickle your fancy a little bit in terms of like, let's get going, because I hear you. You're a competitive dude. You're not going there just to like make some content. Like, come on.
No, I'm practicing. I drove fucking 2 hours for a lesson yesterday and went right back in the car and drove back home afterwards. It's pouring rain out here now, but I think I'm going to go indoors and hit some ball. Like look, I don't expect to win. There's a lot of guys. There's not a lot of guys, but there's only 16 of us. But there's guys who, play professionally and have done this for their whole lives. But listen, anytime you have a scorecard in your pocket, you care about what you shoot, and especially when other people are going to be paying attention, right? Like I used to get nervous for Ike qualifiers and Met-Am qualifiers, and no one was paying attention, right? Now the entire world is going to know what I shoot. So you just don't want to embarrass yourself out there. And I think I'm in a good spot because I don't think no one's expecting me to win, and I'm not expecting myself to win. So it's not like there's pressure. It's just an opportunity to shoot a good score and challenge myself. I played in the good thing a couple of weeks ago. We finished second, Willie and I, which I thought was really great.
You carried Willie. Let's call a spade a spade. I watched the whole. Listen, I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of yours, and it's I jokingly say to Ryan all the time, like when you joined Barstool and you were able to like use the special code to buy a shirt to help a guy, like you were the code that I used to get my stuff cheaper. Like that. So like I watch. I love your competitiveness. I listen. Why not? Why not you?
Yeah, listen,
it's one round of golf, pal.
It's one round of golf. That's true. We'll see. I mean, I've never shot lower than 3 under in competition, and I don't think 3 under is going to get it done. So we'll see. But I'm working hard. I'm practicing. I've actually got some time. It's coming at sort of a nice time in the schedule. Like last week with Riv, I couldn't really play all that much. The week before that, I was in Phoenix. I've got some time, so I'm gonna be out there working on it, and I just want to shoot. I just want to shoot a good score. I just want to have fun, and hopefully not embarrass myself. That's kind of the goal number one.
Yeah, I listen. I'm. Why not you is kind of like the hashtag
like that
I'm going with. The last thing I'll leave you with, because obviously can sit here and pick your brain forever. But let's talk about Netflix. Obviously, that the season 2 is coming out. I know you have a huge play in that and a huge role in what goes on there. Like again, being a golf nerd and fiend as I am, like you live and breathe it. Watching that thing, like I'm itching to start that up again.
Yeah.
Talk about what you expect season 2 to be like.
I think it's going to be better than season 1. I think that
wow. Season 1 was great.
Season 1 was great. I think that the producers became part of kind of the fabric of life on tour this year in a sense of it was just like, oh, those are the Netflix guys. Like I think before everyone was very guarded because no one knew what the product was going to look like. No one knew, what the show was going to look like. Now they've had proof of concept in the season 1 that was super successful and did better than all their projections. And so I think there's a trust level now between the players and the producers of, okay, maybe, I'm okay with them coming with me in the locker room, or I'm okay with them coming with me in the car because I know that they're not trying to tear me down, or that the final product is not going to be something, unfavorable for my image. So I think, I've seen a few episodes and I think the access is incredible. The merger episode is something else. It's just so fun, with everything that's happened since, it's only been 8 months since that merger happened, but it feels like it's still going on. We still don't know what's happening. It's easy to forget how crazy it was when it happened. We turn on CNBC and just see Jay Monahan and Yasir Al-Rumayyan sitting next to each other. Everyone's like, was there something in my coffee? Like, I can't believe I'm actually seeing this. And so it just relives that from very, very close to it. They're with the players, they're inside the player meetings, in Delaware. There's a level of access that they had this year that I don't think they had in the first year. I think there were some guys who I was hoping might be featured who aren't featured. So there's definitely still a little bit of, some guys are, they don't get paid. So some of these guys are like, oh, what's in it for me? But the guys who are in it really, really opened up. I'm really looking forward to seeing the Keegan Bradley episode because I want to see that phone call where I haven't seen it yet, where he doesn't get on the Ryder Cup team. I know they were there for that. So I think there's some more moments this year that, I think my one critique of the first, it's not even really a critique because the show is not made for golf nuts like us. It's made for the general public, was that like, if you followed golf, there wasn't that much like new. I guess the Brooks Koepka, like him opening up and being so emotional was kind of the one thing that was different and new. But if you were a golf fan, you knew about Jordan and JT's relationship. You knew about Matt Fitzpatrick and his statistics and all this stuff. I think there's a lot more behind the scenes stuff in this season that even people like you and like me who eat this shit up every single week aren't familiar with.
Yeah, that's great. And I guess knowing that you're on a Taylor Swift kick these days and Alex Bush a huge fan, like
yes.
what do you think is the end game for Liv in the PGA Tour?
God, end game, because I was like, where's the Taylor Swift tie in here?
Yeah, come
God,
on, bro.
man,
I mean, Alex would be pissed at that one, dude. He's gonna be mad at that one.
I don't know. They asked. I did a little panel the other day, and they asked me this question, and I don't think that Yasser knows. I don't think that Jay Monahan knows. The one thing I am hearing a lot is that the Department of Justice is just like not really going to let it happen. That's kind of what it seems when I talk to people in the know. They think that the government's, with everything that's going on in the Middle East and Iran, that they're just not going to let this happen. I saw the ratings for Genesis and they were very bad. And I'm wondering if like we are reaching that point where fans are tired. Golf is just not big enough or popular enough to be split the way it is. And I desperately want everyone to come together and play in the same tournaments. I don't think that this is good for the long-term health of the sport. So I'm hopeful that the Saudis are involved in a deal. I'm hopeful they can split up the calendar, maybe have some live team weeks, have some individual weeks, do it around the world, kind of what Rory's been talking about. But it's still at this point a pie in the sky. It's not that close to happening. It's really not. I don't think that we're really that close to seeing Brooks and Bryson and Rahm play in the same tournaments as Rory and Scotty and Victor. Which is a shame.
Yeah, leave it to the United States government to botch that one too. So listen, it's just
stay out
thing.
of our fucking business.
Listen, there's some things you guys can go meddle in and worry about. This is not something that needs to be worried about. So, but listen, I can't thank you enough. I literally could talk to you for hours upon hours. But listen, if you're ever in the New Jersey area, Northeast, listen, no one's faster to responding to DMs than I am. So don't be afraid to fire one my way. But thank you again so much for coming on today's show.
Yeah, of course. Happy to do it. We'll do it again soon, boys.
Thanks, pal.